For the dead and the living, we must bear witness. Not only we are responsible for their memories, but we are also responsible for what we do with these memories. Quote from Elie Wiesel. My name is Hervé Lecomte. I am a volunteer with Military Family Support Group. I really understand the price of freedom because my entire family was liberated on D-Day. So when I see the names on this cenotaph, I see the GIs that landed in Normandy. Yes, in Normandy, we call the American soldiers the GIs. I always remember that sound. I remember my mother crying every time she used to say, "Too many young GIs died here in Normandy, far away from their home country, to a place they never heard before." Now you know why I care about the American soldiers, the GIs. Matthew Wooden is here. Can you raise your hand, Matthew? 17 years old, and his father Robert erected this stunning cenotaph. Not only they donated their working hours, long hours, trust me, but also covered all their material costs, 100%. A big thank you to this amazing 17 years old and his father, Robert. A big thank you to all the Patriot Guard riders standing behind me. They do attend a lot of veterans' funerals on a weekly basis. And they did attend the funeral of a few of those service members mentioned in this cenotaph. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm retired Command Sergeant Major Mac Adams, and I'm here to talk to you about Vietnam. But it's kind of hard to tell you about Vietnam unless I tell you about the folks that went there. Because the 60s was a very turbulent time in the United States, and it was almost like we were fighting ourselves. We were our own worst enemy. We were coming out of the turbulent time of slavery, and so what had happened was the military had always, even during the War of Northern Aggression, they had black troops with white officers, movie Glory. And that portrayed the first Command Sergeant Major of the Army, which was Frederick Douglass's son. So all of that time, from 1866 to 1948, it had been segregated. Harry S. Truman signed Executive Order 9981 on 26 July 48, which integrated and stopped desegregation of the military and government jobs. And that wasn't very popular at that time. We were paying 75% of war reparations in 1954 for the war in Vietnam. You have to understand, Vietnam had been at war longer than any civilization on the planet, okay? We went there after the Chinese and the French, and they had a tunnel network that was beyond belief. So now I believe in the boogeyman. They were there, and they weren't, they were gone. We sent city boys to the jungle. The United States military did all their battles, World War I, World War II, Korea, it was always linear battlefields. Good guys march to the bad guys. That's a linear battlefield. We weren't ready for these jungle tactics. It was November 2nd, 1963. The president of Vietnam was assassinated in a CIA coup. On the 22nd of November, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Same year, same month, 20 days apart. The Vietnam War escalated after that to a point where when I got there in 1969, there was 543,000 of us on the ground. It was like the Old West. That's what we knew. It was lawlessness. It's not like we have now, because that many people on the ground, and there was more than one army. Okay, you had soldiers that were from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and then you had me. I'm a draftee. I got 2 years to do. What you gonna do, send me to Vietnam? So that was part of all the problems that went on there. But what I'm trying to elaborate is not the downside, because we went there as strangers and we came home as brothers. And with all those things that we had all experienced, when you're putting your life on the line and the man next to you or whoever is doing the same for you, that's when you bond. There's a bonding there. One of the worst jobs in Vietnam was the tunnel rat. And that was because of their tunnel network was so sophisticated, and they would just disappear, no longer be. And the buzzwords of body count and all of the things that they tied to that. Nixon I got drafted under Johnson, went to Nam under Nixon, was relieved by Ford, then Carter, then Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama. I served 9 presidents in this 41 years. The other problem we had was drugs. They had China White. It was the best heroin on the planet, you know? And they came back, because I had worked VA hospital, and they came back hooked on this. And they did a amnesty program where they took them out of the jungle with the red clay still on them. I was at the VA at that time. And that's when they did Darvon in. They were trying to self-medicate at that time. There's a scary, painful point where you just don't come back from. You leave the war, but the war doesn't leave you. At the highest point, California had the most servicemen that went to the war in Vietnam. And out of that, California lost 5,575 million. It's estimated that 2.7 million Americans went and served in Vietnam. Once again, our job's not over. You know, we swore allegiance to all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we're at home, and our country needs us now more than ever. And here in Placerville, I intend to make my stand here. This is us. I don't know what the problem with Antifa and these other things where lawlessness takes over, but not here. Take me out on my sheet, okay? Back to bed. With that being said, I'd like to thank you for your attention, and thank you.
Good evening. I'm honored to be with you all tonight because I know that each of you in attendance here, like me, have a deep understanding of the true cost of war. September 11th is a day for somber remembrance of the atrocities that began the war on terrorism. And so it's fitting to choose this day to officially introduce this beautiful cenotaph to the community. It's a tribute to the memory of Dorado County service members who lost their lives while serving during Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, and the War on Terror. Some of you may know that my husband, Hervé, served for many years as chairman of the board of the local nonprofit Military Family Support Group, and I served as volunteer director of that organization until 2020. During my tenure, we maintained an honor board with many of these same names right here in the dining room at the Veterans Memorial Building. During renovations, that temporary board was lost, which accelerated the creation of this more permanent, more visible, and more spectacular tribute. It is my privilege to read out these names in no particular order so that their memories might be honored and their sacrifices never forgotten. Sky R. Moat, Brad S. Shooter, Michael Elledge, Garrett Fant, Matthew D. Taylor, Randall Landstedt, Eric C. Schenk, Philip B. Williams, Austin S. Ramsey, Kyle Dayton, Joshua Hart, Timothy M. Smith. May their memories be a comfort to their loved ones, and may we never forget that freedom isn't free. Thank you.
I was on the phone with Ross Moat, the father of Sky Moat. This is what he said. I'm not adding anything. Quote, "I am babysitting cattle on the ranch we lived when Sky was born. It is peaceful out in the sage surrounded by mountain peaks. I have my dog and a good mare to ride, and there is always something to do or care for. I so appreciate what you are doing, and it is so important that we remember the past to help guide us to a better future. Thanks for keeping it alive." End of quote.
I got to start off by telling you all it's an honor and a privilege to be before you this afternoon. When Hervé asked me to stand here this evening, I told him, I said, "Hervé, I'm not a veteran." And he said, "I understand that, but I still want you there tonight." So I had this whole speech planned until I got here, and hearing the names read kind of took me off on a little side note, so I'm going to add that in here. For those of you that don't know me, I was your sheriff for 12 years prior to your current sheriff, Sheriff Jeff Lykoff. Prior to that, I was in law enforcement for prior 18 years before that, and then a builder and general contractor before that. We all know that day in 2011, 23 days ago, what we were doing this morning. I'm sure we can all go back there in our minds and almost relive it. I was sitting on a hill watching a marijuana garden to see who was tending it, see if we could write some papers back to some houses on who was responsible for that. That's been back when marijuana was actually illegal. I had no reception, no cell service, didn't even have cell phones back then. I had a digital pager, and my wife Janine was paging me all morning with all these little cryptic pages in text message because you only had so many characters. Things are bad. Airlines grounded. All these cryptic texts. And when we finally got pulled out at around 8:30 that night, and we got back to our extraction vehicle, me and my partner, the person that extracted us, his name was John Ulian. I asked him, "John, what the heck's going on?" He said, "It's bad." By the time we got back to the office and on the TV, we could see what was unfolding across our nation and what had been done to our country. I was 36 years old, and I was on the cusp of being able to enlist. I was a sniper for our SWAT team in Dorado County then, and I thought, man, I could go over and do some real good. But God had different plans for me, kept me home. My wife didn't want me to go, and I was just months away from not being able to go anyway, so I didn't go. The folks that stand here that are wearing the hats are riders everybody that have served. Our country can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough, because that is what I changed to tonight, the cost of freedom. Where we are today and where we're going. We all know, it's not, everybody knows it, doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on, blue or red, it doesn't matter. Country's in a bad spot right now. Thomas Jefferson, long time ago, made a statement. He said, the tree of liberty must be fertilized with the blood of patriots and tyrants from time to time. And I'm scared to death for our country, but I am also encouraged, because people like Mac and people like these folks here in our county, El Dorado County, for how we respect our veterans, how we take care of our veterans, how we memorialize our veterans. No matter what else happens in this country, we're going to be just fine. We'll all be just fine. So it's my honor to be here tonight, to thank you all, to thank those on this wall for the ultimate sacrifice that they paid, and to all those that will come forward that will write that blank check and stand up for us. Thank you.
Cheers. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Thusen. I'm the Commandant of the Marine Corps League Detachment, Staff Sergeant Sky Moat, Detachment 697. I welcome you all here tonight. It's very moving for us to be the detachment named after Staff Sergeant Sky Moat. If there are any family members of names on these walls, would you just raise your hand or stand if possible? There's two Marines on this wall. One is Marine Lance Corporal Brad Shooter. Brad was 21 years old. He was from El Dorado, California. He was assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment, 1st Marine Division, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force out of Camp Pendleton, California. He was killed on April 12th in the Anbar province of Iraq. Brad signed up for the Marine Corps soon after his 18th birthday, making for a dramatic change in lifestyle. He was a gourmet cook who wanted to open a bakery, a man who wore designer fashions and took dates to the opera. He was a genuine person, said his longtime friend Kurt Hall. He was someone who you could trust to be a real friend when you needed one. The 21-year-old Camp Pendleton Marine from El Dorado Hills was killed April 12th. And Brad seemed to know that he might die on his 2nd tour in Iraq. He told us that he felt he wouldn't be coming home, his father said. But he wouldn't listen to his family's pleas to request a change in assignment. He felt it was his duty to return. And his parents said from the time he was a youngster, he always wanted to be in the military. His dad said that he always said that it was every American's duty to serve in the military. We honor the memory of Brad Shooter, and we never forget. The next Marine on here is Staff Sergeant Sky Moat. Sky was 27. He was from El Dorado, California. He was assigned to the 1st Marine Special Operations Battalion, Camp Pendleton. He died August 10th, 2012. Serving in the Sangin district of Afghanistan. If there are any veterans here who know about the Sangin district, it was one of the more heavily fought in Afghanistan. It's more of things like the Tet Offensive in Hue City in Vietnam, Normandy in World War II, Iwo Jima. Marines that fought in Sangin, it was that bad. It's like Fallujah in Iraq. Sky was shot by an Afghan policeman who also killed Marine Captain Matthew Manokian of Los Altos Hills, California, and Gunnery Sergeant Ryan Jeske, 31 of Herndon, Virginia. He was a Marine, though, with the Elite Special Operations Unit, and he was awarded the Navy Cross, which is the 2nd highest Medal of Valor next to the Congressional Medal of Honor. His heroism was against an insider attack, what they called Green on Blue, in Afghanistan in 2012. Staff Sergeant Sky Moak was posthumously received the military's honor at the headquarters of Marine Corps Force Special Operations Command and West Coast Battalion at Camp Pendleton. And according to the MARSOC release, both Marines were deployed to Afghanistan, both Staff Sergeant Sky Moak and Captain Matthew. They began to receive heavy gunfire from an Afghan uniformed police officer who was attacking from within their tactical operations center. In Sky's final act of bravery, he boldly remained in the open and engaged the shooter head on, less than 5 meters from him. He courageously pressed the assault on the enemy, moving and engaging until he received mortal wounds and fell where he fought. He was outgunned, yet he continued to engage until he fell mortally wounded. Staff Sergeant Sky Moak was the third member of the Special Operations Command to receive the Navy Cross. With that, I'd like to ask some of our members from the Marine Corps Detachment. We have some flowers we'd like to lay for our 2 Marines and thank those who built this. Thank you. And come forward. Thank you. Those flowers were for all 12 names on there. Something to reiterate what Mac and what the sheriff says is we stand on this hallowed ground. It's an honor to be a veteran. It's an honor to be here, to be with my brothers and sisters that are here tonight. Unfortunately, we have to put names on the wall for our elected officials to understand that there is a cost. There is a cost to this. It's an unbearable cost for those who lose their lives. It's equally unbearable for those veterans who come home and they're not supported, because that does happen time and time again. We seem to have lost that remembrance of what has continued. This war has started 20 years ago, over 20. Not to put Brian on the spot, but that the next speaker is one of our politicians. And we welcome you, sir, Brian Veerkamp. If you could come forward, sir, we welcome you to speak with us. We need that reassurance in this time. Thank you.
It's quite an introduction. I appreciate that, I think. Anyway, and that's not me. I'm not a politician. I'm about service to our country, and that's what tonight is all about, and I'll touch on that in here. It gives me great pleasure and honor, as Sheriff DeAugustini said, to share in this monumental occasion tonight. I can't think of a better way to honor those who have given their lives so we can be proud and be free and be protected. I can't think of a better way to memorialize them as we're doing tonight with this great cenotaph made by an Eagle Scout. And that, I had the privilege in my previous service as a board supervisor to do many Eagle Scout presentations, and it was one of the best things that I ever got to do. And tonight, young man, you're the one we should be honoring as well, which we are. Obviously, we all know what happened 23 years ago today. As John pointed out, I remember vividly what I was doing at that time. Unfortunately, it wasn't exciting as what John talked about, but you just don't forget things like that. You all know we were brutally attacked. Our American integrity was attacked, and it makes this memorial even mean that much more. We must never forget. And yes, our politicians do a really bad job at remembering and taking care of our veterans. That we need to change. our law enforcement, our first responders. I was part of sending teams and crews to New York after this attack, and we were there only, unfortunately, for a lot of body recovery, but again, it was still service that needed to happen. Afghanistan and Iraq wars were a direct result of this attack, and these lives we're memorializing tonight were a casualty of that attack. We must never let our guard down again. I hate to say it, but I think we're pretty darn complacent right now, and we have got to pick it up. Because I learned long ago, if it's predictable, it's preventable. But it's up to us to hold people accountable so we can make the right actions. History usually repeats itself. And if we don't learn from it, guess what? It's going to happen again. We often take these heroes for granted when in fact they should always be at the forefront of our memories and our actions. We will never be able to repay the debt of all of you who have given your sacrifice for us again and our freedoms. But we can honor and memorialize them forever. And again, thank you, Matt, for this beautiful memorial here, the Cenotaph, and the military support group, Hervé, Julie. You know the things that you've done, and we appreciate that so much. And I know you're not done yet. And neither am myself or my wife or my family. So thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, for helping us put this together tonight. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
Patty Taylor, mother of Matthew Taylor. My wife, Julie, and I were at Matthew Taylor's interment in Arlington National Cemetery. The Patriot Guard riders were present also, a different crew. I was on the phone with Patty. This is what she said, quote, "I could not have done it without this community. Thank you." End of quote. Joe Ramsey, father of Austin Ramsey. I talked to Joe via text. This is what he said, what he wrote, I quote, "He loved to serve in the 75th Ranger Regiment. He lived in this county and loved to serve it." Next speaker, Jeff Lakoff.
Thank you. It's truly an honor to be standing before you tonight. I am very humbled. And I too had something written down, but when I pulled in the parking lot tonight and I laid eyes on this beautiful sign with the 12 names on it, I'm speechless, because we see these names on the sides of highways, and to see all these heroes here together, I'm truly humbled and honored to be here. Honored to be in front of friends and family that knew these heroes. Going back, I too remember 23 years ago what I was doing that morning. We all do. I'm sure the family members can remember exactly where they were and what they were doing when they got the news of their loved ones. And I want to thank them, because they sacrifice every day. They continue to sacrifice to pay the price of the loss of their loved one. I love hearing the stories, because I'm a big history buff, and I truly believe that if we don't get these stories out about these heroes, when the people that know them, when they're gone, the stories about those people are gone. So we need to do whatever it takes to keep these memories alive in El Dorado County, and I don't think we do a good enough job of that. I think we need to do better. Thank you to all you heroes out here that have served. My travels up and down the state and meeting with the other 57 sheriffs of El Dorado County, are in our state, me being from El Dorado County and meeting with state and national leaders recently, I often get the question of what makes El Dorado County so special. And I'm quick to tell them, first and foremost, our community respects law and order. They respect law enforcement, so they believe in the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. The second reason could easily be the first reason, and that's we're full of a community that has faith. People still believe in God here. They believe in a higher power, and they go to church. And the third reason that makes our county so special is service. We have a community full of people that love to go out and serve, whether it's serving the community in some way, shape, or form, serving our country, or obviously those that have served and paid the ultimate sacrifice. So I'm proud to be from El Dorado County. I'm proud that we have that reputation and that we have something special going on here in El Dorado County. But kind of to touch on what Sheriff D'Agostini said, I believe that we are truly in for some troubled times. It's no longer a right or a left thing. This is a good versus evil thing. And I too agree that looking around here, just on our island, I call us an island in the Sea of California, that I too feel comfortable with. We'll be ready for whatever gets thrown our way. And it's because of folks like you that are willing to come out and serve our country at the highest level. So I want to thank you again. Thank you to the families, and God bless you all, and God bless El Dorado County.
If able, please rise for retirement of the colors.
Attention. Set, mark.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of people to thank, and we want to thank each and every one of you, but we'd be here till the midnight. But thank you for being here, the Patriot Guard, Sheriff's Guard, thank you, Civil Air Patrol, thank you, ladies and gentlemen who are here, thank you very much. Ultimate thank you is to the names that are on this wall.